being grabbed. Touchdown! Touchdown!
Good morning, Roku. Good morning, YouTube. And good morning, Facebook. It's Monday, which means most of you are going to work when, oh, what the hell, the week's about to start again. While some of us are going, hey, it's just our Saturday, waiting for the next Sunday to roll around, which will happen in what, like a few months? So, NFL season, you know, we have no games to talk about, but we had the combine, which was kind of the normal drama ensued. Not much to talk about there. However, we have football news this morning, and we're going to go right into it. Mike Evans is staying with the Buccaneers. The first signing we've been waiting for has happened. The deal is as follows: 2 years, $52 million, with $35 million guaranteed. That's probably most of the year one salary. That the first domino has fallen, right? So that's going to maybe mean Baker is staying in Tampa. What do you think there, Nick Green?
I think it's a great idea that Tampa would retain Baker Mayfield, bring back Mike Evans. I think that they had a pretty decent team, and if he can stay healthy and they can get maybe, a better running back in the draft or, help shore up the defense, because it looks like they're going to lose their top linebacker and possibly their safety. It's still possible they're going to lose those guys. But if you can keep building your defense in the draft, I don't see why they can't be a competent team at least.
Yeah, the NFC South isn't exactly the NFC North, which is poised to rip the cover off a few footballs. Going to my cohort, my partner in crime, Ken, this is going to start changing that landscape because up until basically today, everything's been predicated as was. But the first chip has fallen, and it looks like it's going to change a couple of teams' prognosis for what they're looking for in the draft and in free agency now.
Oh, absolutely. With Mike Evans off the board now, there were a lot of teams that had been linked with him in this offseason, and now they're going to have to completely reevaluate their plans, seeing as how he's staying there. And I definitely agree with Nick there that I would say that Baker's probably going to come back now, even though we haven't heard anything about them offering him a contract. With the way he played with them last year, I don't think he's going to want to change too much stuff up, especially after hopping around the league the past couple of years. He's going to probably want himself a home and to get established. And honestly, I think Baker's a real good fit for Tampa. His mentality, it kind of goes back to like when Gruden was the coach of Tampa.
So Rob, I mean, does this mean Baker, like Nick and Ken are saying, Baker's going to be in Tampa, and now we're going to finally get Baker at home commercials once again? Because let's face it, these commercials were gold.
Yeah, no, I like his commercials, but I mean, man, the reason Cleveland moved on from him, I mean, honestly, bro, he had a resurgence last year, and that's all it was. I mean, I think, he got lucky when he came to us. He set records playing against us. So he's a good, I guess if they draft a quarterback and they put him out there just to let him, be the guy for a while, I mean, I understand that, but I don't think Baker's a big catch. I think he could do better. There's somebody out there.
I would gladly, if I was a team, hitch my ride to Baker Mayfield. I think he's a legit quarterback, and I just think that in Cleveland, it was a bad marriage between them because he did throw some good shit there. All right, what were you going to say, Ken?
Cleveland wasn't a bad fit. It was a good fit. I mean, he made them relevant again. Then they saw Deshaun Watson and got greedy and said, "Ooh, we like the way he looks better," and it's turned out terrible for them overall. But really, the guy who got him, look at this is that was a franchise that hadn't won a game. That was a franchise that hadn't been to a playoff game. That's a franchise that they had locked refrigerators of beer that would only unlock if they won a game. And then he comes in and they make him a playoff team. And then it's like, ooh, look at that pretty thing in the corner, Deshaun Watson getting a massage. We need him. Let's give him all this money guaranteed and kick the guy who made us relevant. I mean, that's basically what happened. And then I don't, and then he had a down moment, and I get that. I mean, dude, if you're put yourself in Baker's shoes, right? You bring a team relevance and discard you like you're trash. So it took 1 minute to find his footing. They made the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game last year with him. They went into Detroit.
They're one drive away from beating Detroit. They were one drive away.
They probably should have beaten Detroit. So, I mean, for them, it makes sense offensively. They're going to have a good offense. It's going to change teams' plans now. So, I mean, they did the right thing to move forward. He is the heir apparent to Brady in Tampa. He's their solution probably for the next 5 or 6 years. But there's a team that this really affects more than anyone besides Atlanta. And we're going to bring D-Roy from Skull on. So for those who haven't seen D-Roy, he's got a show on Saturday nights between the Frozen Tundra and Hal's Hall. It's not on Roku yet. We're hoping one day soon. So right now you can see him on Facebook and YouTube every Saturday at 6 p.m. Central to 7 p.m. He's been rolling solo, but we're working on filling out the staff. But, dude, this has got to affect you for several reasons, right? One, does Justin Jefferson look at this and go, ooh, maybe 30 mil's too low? Two, now if there was an idea of signing Baker, well, that's probably off the table for you. So, I mean, this probably has more ramifications for you than it does anyone else on this panel.
Yeah, Mike Evans got $26 million a year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jefferson's going to look at this and he's going to be like, hey, I can get more than 30. And then at the quarterback spot, we got Cousins looking to probably go to Atlanta. And then now with Evans re-signing with Tampa, that leaves Baker off the board. I mean, yeah.
Minnesota's got to be looking at like Russell Wilson or trading up in the draft to get a quarterback. It's got to be the move.
I've been saying Russell Wilson would be a perfect bridge quarterback, and then still take a guy in the draft like Michael Phoenix.
There you go.
I call him Phoenix. Won't call him Penix. Phoenix. Well, hey, we got this changes Raider Nation a little bit too. I don't know if Raider Nation was really looking at Mike Evans, but the sign today probably
they got Devontae.
They got Devontae. Yeah, this signing affects them about as much as it affects the Bears and the Packers, but
it could take Baker off the table for him, though.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm disappointed about is that it potentially took Baker off the table. So
do you how?
Well, I didn't hear. So they re-signed Baker, or are you?
No.
They're just assuming they will.
That Baker re-signed.
We're assuming because Mike Evans got signed that Baker's the next chip to, next domino to fall on that.
Here's something you got to think about. They're letting go of Winfield and Devin White. Like, they're letting go of some really good young defensive players, like, to keep Mike Evans. That tells me, like, they're in cap trouble. So do you think they're going to have the money to sign Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield? Like, I don't think they are.
I do.
So I think Baker can still leave.
I actually think they got a good deal for Mike Evans. He because Justin Jefferson is going to make more than $30 million a year. It's possible that Mike Evans is worth more than $26 million a year. So I actually think they got somewhat of a decent deal on that one. Mike Evans has how many seasons in a row with 1,000+ yards? This guy is amazing.
Exactly.
He's a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think that's a great deal.
Well, and something else. Look at this. I'm not even mad at him being 30 years old, getting 50-some million on a 2-year deal. So what's his drop-off going to be? Like, you worry about when these guys get older, the drop-off. If he drops off over the next 2 years, it's not going to be like, it's not going to be a 90-degree drop. I mean, if there's drop-off there, it's going to be slight, but it's still going to be worth money over the next 2 years. Now, if this had been a 4-year deal at 25, 30 million a year, then maybe I'm like, okay, I could see some cause for concern, but they got a good term. He got good money. Yes, they've got defense leaving left and right, but is that maybe because of cap, or is that maybe because they feel they can get better, cheaper in the draft?
I mean, think about this honestly, man. Like Winfield is one of the better safeties in the league, right? Devin White, I can understand them moving on from him, even though I personally like him. Like, you know, he's sort of hit and miss in coverage. So maybe they feel like, you know, for the money that he's asking, because I read somewhere that he's asking for like 17 million a year. Like, so I can understand letting him walk, but Winfield is only 26 years old. He's just now getting his second contract. Like, you don't not re-sign your star players to second contracts. Like that, it just doesn't make sense, dude. Like,
well, you know, I agree with you. I don't think I'm gonna look at the updated tag. We don't have anything. But, you know, Winfield, I guess, could be a tag possibility for them. He's going to be asking for about 23 million. We were talking about that on House Hall on Saturday on Roku here. You know, he could be a tag option for them, and the tag for his safety is going to be about 18 million or so. So they could tag him. And I agree with you on Winfield, because that's a player, as a Bears fan, we've been looking at, right? Like I said, we were talking about him on House Hall Report. But he's going to ask for about 23 mil, but he could be a tag possibility that we haven't, you know, put here on the show yet. I mean, so I wouldn't say they've written off their defense yet.
Do you have a solid source for that he's asking for 23?
It's that's a SPO track. Actually, I'll correct it. That's what SPO track is saying. You know, would be his
projected
market value. Yeah,
the Buccaneers have. So Buccaneers have 37 million in cap space, and Antoine Winfield Jr. is only 25 years old. I don't see how you can't bring him back. Like at that age, how good he is, you have to bring that guy back as a core part of your defense.
We all know that. Wait, how much was it, Nick? Is that after the signing, Nick? That's what they got?
Yeah. So the updated says 37 million in cap space. So they must have had a lot.
So now you got 37 million. You got 37 million, and you got to re-sign Winfield, and he's looking at, you know, I'm not going to say 23 million. Let's say they even get like a good deal on him, because I was on they actually have a cap space simulator now. Like, you know how they have mock draft simulators? They actually have a free agency simulator now, and I was able to get him on the Raiders for 4 years at 14 million per year. So let's say the Bucs get a deal like that, 15 million per year. Right? That leaves you 22 million for this year for Baker. And
if he was 29 years old, I couldn't see them doing it. But since he's so young, since he's 25, I could see them doing something like that. And honestly, I actually think that's still a good deal. Like I actually applaud the Buccaneers for making this 2-year deal. Like Ken was saying, it's only 2 years. There's no dramatic drop off in these next 2 years, right? If you had 4 years, there's the possibility in this third or fourth year that you're paying someone that's having a dramatic drop off. So I actually think that what they're doing is smart.
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
There's another piece. Hold on, but Joe, there's another piece to go to it, and that's these GMs. Like, okay, 35 mil, dude, they could give Antoine the 23, and they can give Baker 30, and still get away with it, because the way they do these contracts, where the money, you know, it's goes on here. Well, I mean, like a $30 million a year contract doesn't get you $30 million on cap. I mean, that's the hard part for us to always wrap our heads around. That I was using yesterday. We were in the NFL on one of our shows and like explain how the cap legit works, because look it. We all see it. Like Mike Evans, I bet his cap hit is not 25 mil this year. Nick, if you're looking at what's his cap hit this year, it's probably not 25. It's probably like 15 or 20 or something less than what, you know, the contract we think it is for this year. So whatever these guys do, it's the cap is there, yes, but it's also a misnomer of fact. You know what I mean? Good morning, Yoli. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So I like, and every year, and look at, for those who've been around us, when we had the old NFC North Trash Talk division page, and this argument is old as dirt. Oh, the Packers have no money. Oh, the Bears have no money. And every year, the teams would have money, and everybody's like, how'd you have money? Dude, they figure out ways to make cap hits less than what the contract is with every contract they sign.
This is just what it says for right now. His cap hit is 12.1 million. So not nearly the 26 million, right?
Yeah. So they could definitely sign Antoine Winfield Jr. to 23 mil a year, and they could definitely sign Baker Mayfield to a good sized contract and come within the cap this year. They're not like Buffalo, who's gonna have to basically cut half the team to get under the cap because they're like 40 or 50 or 60 mil over. They're not like Miami, who's still got to cut people because they've got one already cut. That's gonna be a post June 1. They still got another 13 million or so to get there. Dallas is 10 million over. These are teams that are in cap problems, but like I don't think
the Niners, they're going to come into some serious cap hell. I can't wait to see what happens with that team. They're going to implode some way. But as far as Baker Mayfield goes, he's not that expensive. He's not a top-tier quarterback. And I could see them giving him a 2-year deal, for something similar to Mike Evans. I could actually see that, which would be pretty smart. As much as you do need a top-tier quarterback to win in this league today, this is one of those situations where Tampa has so much talent, you could get away with having a Baker Mayfield and still winning. I mean, their whole team, their roster is a really good roster. Baker doesn't have to be Mahomes for them to win games.
But I also think you're kind of selling Baker a little bit short, though. Like, the year that Baker had last year was pretty impressive. Like, it wasn't – let's not act like he's, some type of Zach Wilson type scrub, dude. Like,
no, but I wouldn't put him in my top 10.
Actually, Baker Mayfield's Spotrac market value is 27.1 mil. So they're saying Spotrac is saying a contract for him should look at something like this: 4 years, 108 million. That's Spotrac. So really, that's not that. Look, that's cheaper than Jordan Love. That's cheaper than what Jordan Love's going to cost, or Justin Fields, or a lot of other quarterbacks. So that's cheaper than Jared Goff. His Spotrac is. So 27.1 is actually, if you think about, because of his potential, a deal for Tampa, because he has the ability, I think, to be a franchise guy that they sign for 4 years. At the end of the 4 years, people will be talking about, wow, they really stole the guy at 27 mil, especially when you got guys like Danny Dimes that can get upwards of 40, 45 mil. Baker's definitely better than Danny Dimes.
But that argument goes both ways. Do you think Baker is not aware of Daniel Jones's contract? And do you think that Baker doesn't sit there and think like, if Danny Dimes is getting 40 million, I deserve at least 40, because I'm better than that dude. Like, that's all I'm saying.
I agree with you, but and that's why I like Spotrac, because dude, as much as Spotrac's been pretty spot on with these contracts, with the one we just saw signed, they called it. They were within a few $1 million plus or minus. They're pretty close on the market value. Whatever their formula they're using, unless a team just goes stupid out, and gives a stupid contract, which they do, right? Teams do give stupid contracts all the time.
Daniel Jones.
Jones. I mean, they're pretty good on the market. So, I mean, players know this, agents know this, GMs know it. I think it's a pretty good tool. So I get what you're saying. Baker's like, well, dude, Danny's getting 40. I should be getting 30, 35. I mean, but if you look at the constraints that team is in now, if they want to, let's say, sign Antoine Winfield Jr. and Baker, it's going to have to be like 27 mil. I mean, if you think about it, that's 27 mil for him, 23 mil for Antoine, right? That's 50 mil. And Nick's like, well, they only got 35. Well, between that 50 mil, about 30 of it's going to show up as cap hit, and then they'll still have 5 million left over. I mean,
but then there's also like, what if Baker thinks he can get more, even just a few million more from another team that has cap space and is.
He doesn't have a lot of leverage though. That's his problem, dude. Baker Mayfield is one bad season away from being a journey quarterback.
He does have leverage, Nick. What do the Raiders have in cap space? That's his leverage.
I don't think he has the leverage to ask for 40 mil or something like that. I think that he has leverage to say, hey, I'm good enough to be on a team and start, but there's no way that you can pay that man that amount of money when he hasn't shown that he doesn't have the proven track record for it. He has last year's pretty decent season. He has a lot of bad seasons before that. I think he's one bad season away from being a journeyman. Like I could see Tampa Bay cutting the cord if he doesn't play well this year, if they bring him back.
I'm gonna go to D-Roy real quick because he's got leverage, right? Because he can go to Minnesota. I think Minnesota would pay him to be their starter right now, wouldn't they? I mean,
I'd take him over Kirk Cousins. He'd be a cheaper option.
Now, now the bigger question for Minnesota:
I'd pay him
the
30
money
as the Raiders. I would pay him 30 right now.
That's what I'm saying. Do you have the money to pay him like Joe was saying? The Raiders would give him 30.
The Raiders right now have like 55, and by the time free agency starts, they're gonna have like 70 million, dude.
So I mean, you're right, but let me ask D-Roy the question. On this. So, can you compete with what Joseph is saying his team can offer?
Probably not. Considering
30, you can compete.
Not if they're gonna pay JJ.
Yeah, not if
if you're gonna pay JJ,
but not if we're gonna bring Hunter back and we're gonna pay JJ.
So I mean, and then Atlanta, now Atlanta's a possibility. They got the funds. So I mean, basically it's Atlanta and Vegas can kind of maybe give Baker that push to 30, if you will, that Nick's kind of talking about. And I disagree with Nick about where Baker is. I think Baker was doing great in Cleveland, and he takes a small hit when they basically treat him like trash in that whole deal to bring in Deshaun. And last year was a rebound for him for sure. Mm-hmm. But he proved what he was in Cleveland wasn't a fluke last year, I think. Now look at
Baker.
Yeah, I like Baker too. I differ from Nick on that. But I mean, look, it's not that Nick's argument's not valid because he did the last 2 years while he was trying to figure out what to do next weren't the best. But last year he came back and he came back good, and he took a team that no one thought was going to be relevant and made them a playoff team that won a playoff game. Did something that took the Lions.
They squeaked in the last week, though. They squeaked in the last week.
And I was really building my argument off of what I originally said, where I feel like Tampa Bay has enough talent that they can get away with a quarterback like Baker Mayfield and still win games. He's never, to me, he's just never going to be a top quarterback, and I'm not going to pay him anywhere near top quarterback money. I would even have a hard time paying Jared Goff top quarterback money, as much as I know Lions fans are like, do it. I don't even want to pay Jordan Love $200 million for 4 years. I don't think that he's proven it just yet. I understand why we have to pay him, but I don't want to. You know what I mean?
Hey, got a question for a technical question for the panel. We don't promote the star thing often, but Joe May says, I bought stars. How do I send them? I think you can do it right there on the feed on Facebook. You can just click the little star thing, right? And it tells you can.
Yeah.
You can just send it to my Cash App.
Don't send it to Nick's Cash App. Trust me, we don't want to enable Nick any further. But you just click it right there in the feed. And thank you guys who do give us stars. We do appreciate it. Believe it or not, we do spend money to do this show. We don't make much on it. We spend more than we make, or actually, kind of between all our shows, we're kind of breaking even. Because we pay for StreamYard, you pay for mixer boards and mics and headphones and other services like PFF. So we do appreciate it. This helps us gather the content. It helps us gather the stuff we need to be informed, to give you guys good information. Sometimes I feel like we're better informed than the guys who get paid millions of dollars because we actually take the time to look into it. So, appreciate the stars, appreciate the help. If you're on Facebook and or YouTube, you can also ask us questions. As you guys see, we will entertain them. If you're on Roku, I hope you're enjoying. But if you want to ask questions, of course, if you get on one of the apps and follow us on our pages, whether it be Mike the Bear Fan, Packer Backer News, Bill the Packer Fan, or on our YouTube for Alice Hall Report or Frozen Tundra Network, we will definitely answer your questions. So please keep it clean. And like Yoli likes to say, happy Monday. I think the only people happy right now for sure are probably Tampa Bay fans. I think a couple other fan bases are going, oh well, out there. I know one Bear fan who's upset right now. That's Billy, the defense Flores. His pipe dream was to get Mike Evans in the Bears uniform. I told him it was never going to happen, but he said, "Hey, one could dream."
And apparently, Cornell Burt is a mad Bears fan today. I mean,
yeah,
I know
I won't give him the airtime, but that's fine. You can talk trash.
Can I ask Joe and Darren a question real quick about this Baker Mayfield thing? As much as you guys are acknowledging that you do like Baker Mayfield a lot, don't you think that it would be a bad idea for a team like the Raiders or the Vikings to sign someone like Baker Mayfield this year? I mean, this is the draft, man. Like, this is the one where you have the draft capital to move up if you need to and get your guy. And there's a lot of really good guys in this draft. Don't you think it would be a bit negligent to sign a quarterback instead of draft one this year?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, go Joe.
No, I actually think it would be a smart idea because, number one, there's no guarantee that anybody is going to trade with us. So if we're counting on that and then we end up not being able to trade, we get nobody, and now we're stuck starting Aiden O'Connell. Also, I think even if we do end up drafting a guy, like, I would want to sit him behind Baker for a couple years and let him just learn and not throw him into the fire right away. And I think Baker keeps us competitive while we let our quarterback sit, and we have the cap space to do that. Also, I saw something yesterday, like people have these ridiculous takes, like on where quarterbacks are going to go in the draft and stuff. So this one was about the Vikings. This dude predicted that the Vikings were going to trade up from 11 to 3, and New England was going to give them that pick for 2 firsts and a second. And I was like, come on, man! Like, whose dick did the Vikings suck to get 2 firsts and a second? They get that deal, right? Like, everybody else is saying that it's like 3 firsts and 3 seconds or 3 firsts and 2 seconds. Like, that's what kind of Ken was talking about, is like people have these just out of their ass takes, dude. Like that, and they got Jaden Daniels in that. So if they did, great for them. But I just, like, does anybody honestly see you're trading the pick for 2 firsts and a second?
But Joe, you're going to trade us Max Crosby for like 3 firsts, 4 seconds, and Justin Fields. I saw on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah, it must be true, right? Like,
well,
it's
all right. So Darren, what do you want to see? What do you want to see the Vikings do? Because I mean, you're in the same boat as the Raiders right now.
Honestly, like I said, bring in a bridge quarterback that could be a bridge quarterback for a couple of years. Draft the guy in the draft, let him sit. Don't just throw him out to the wolves.
Well,
I mean, they kind of got to do something, Nick, though, because like if they're going to put all that investment in JJ, right, and then they've got their other young receiver who they've got 4 more years of a rookie contract with, Addison, they've got to do something now. And they got TJ Hawkinson, his contract's got a couple years left. Yep. They're the money they've spent, they've kind of got to.
We still have to give Darisaw a deal. That's a dude I want to keep around, our left tackle.
All right. Well, look, I don't know if I would want to pay that much for Baker to be my bridge quarterback. If I'm paying an extensive amount of money to sit my new quarterback behind someone, I'm going for someone like Russell Wilson, who has a proven track record and can probably show him some pretty decent, things that he can do later on in his career. Whereas I don't think Baker Mayfield's good enough for me to want to make that move. That's just me, man. Like, that's an expensive punching bag, in my opinion. Might as well go get Gardner Minshew instead.
Well, let me go to Rob. Rob, I mean, I hear what Nick is saying, but I mean, I think and it's not like he's off base. It sounds solid, but to me, right now, as we speak today, only one of those guys is available, right? So, I mean, we've heard the report that they're going to take $85 million in dead cap and cut Russ. So let me throw it to you. Let's say Nick's plan happens. Russ gets cut. Denver takes $85 million dead cap. Whew. Where do you think is the best fit for him in these teams we're talking about? Is he going to be? Does he go to Vegas? Does he go to Mini? Does he go to Atlanta?
I mean, all three are viable. I mean, I think they said that you could sign him for the league, whatever the league minimum is, because of his contract with Denver. So, I mean, that's good for anybody, at least for the first year. So, I mean, Russell Wilson, he's a veteran. I mean, he'll help anybody. They all got talent. There's something on each team, that brings them there. Even if Minnesota lets JJ walk, they still have Addison. They got Hawkinson. They got, they still got guys he could throw there. So, I mean, it's tough. I think Baker could play, I think he stays with Tampa. I think they're going to sign him back because I don't know what they saw in him last year, but it worked out for him. I don't think that would have worked out if he went anywhere else. I mean, everybody says it's a resurgent year for Baker. I tend to agree with Nick. I think he's just like an average quarterback who just had you get up and down seasons, and he just had an up year. You know what I mean? So, but the Bears, the Bears could sign somebody. They could sign Russell. I mean,
Nick and I were actually talking about that yesterday. That if the Bears aren't sold on Justin Fields, let's say their decision is they're going to draft a quarterback, they have the cap space. It wouldn't even hurt them. It would make an awful lot of sense for them to go get Russell Wilson for a year or two and let their new quarterback sit. Like, if they want to break the cycle.
Ken, I'm like, hey, Ken, at the league minimum, I mean, why don't the two of us jump into this, right? I mean, league minimum, hell, the Packers, the Bears make Russell Wilson your backup quarterback for the league minimum. Why not, right? I mean, if it's that simple.
He's not backing anybody up.
It's an interesting idea, but I don't think there is any way in hell that Russell Wilson is going to go play backup anywhere, even for any amount of money. You could pay him starting quarterback money to sit his ass on the bench, and I don't think.
But nobody's saying from the backup. No one's saying to play him for backup.
It's like that Derrick Henry argument. Like, it sounds good to go get Derrick Henry, but he's not sitting behind nobody, man. You have to give him an extensive amount of carries if you bring him on.
Yeah, Derrick wants to be the guy.
I am going to differ from Rob and Nick with the Russell Wilson Baker Mayfield comparison. I personally like Baker more than I do Russ.
Wow, really?
Yeah, Russ's locker room presence is god awful, and Baker is known is more of a team guy. The only real knocks he's had against him was that freaking stint with Cleveland with OBJ and shit. I personally think Baker fit in a hell of a lot better. And from what Russ has shown the past couple of years, I think their play projection is roughly about the same. So I give the guy that's got a little better mentality the edge in that one.
I mean, that's the thing. I think that people are forgetting too. Russ, the stories we're hearing about Russ in Seattle and Denver is very toxic in the locker room. So, I mean, yeah, league minimum is great, but if he's going to destroy your locker room, like, would you take him in Atlanta and let him destroy Bijan, who's, because of his locker room presence? I mean, the guy on the field, yeah, but it's the off the field thing. That's kind of like what we saw with Caleb Williams this weekend at the Combine, right? People are like, well, on the field, Caleb, this, that, and the other. But off the field, man, dude's like got bust written all over him. So I mean, I think we have, and I don't want to get in the whole Caleb Williams debate. I just want to use it as an example because we're tending to do this. We look these red flags, like with Russ Wilson. There are red flags all over the place. There's a reason why Denver might be willing to take $85 million in dead cap space. So why are you going to spend money on someone who's got massive red flags all over the place for destroying a team from the inside out? I mean,
hey Ken, let me just push back on that just a little bit. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you that Russ is a weird dude, right? Like, he's got some weird shit going on where, like, teammates
apparently like the worst Christian ever.
Like, where teammates can't talk to him directly and stuff. But like, to blame the entire Denver situation on Russ, I feel is unfair because Sean Payton alienated Russ from the moment he got there. And he called him out in front of the team, treated him like dog shit. There's a reason that Denver is going to eat the $85 million, and it's not just because Russ is toxic for the locker room. It's because if you're Russell Wilson, no matter how nice of a guy you are, if Sean Payton treated you that way last year, is there any way in hell that you're going to wear a Broncos uniform this year? No.
Yeah,
dude.
but it wasn't like Seattle mourned him when he left either. Like you didn't hear the outcry from teammates or anything when he left. I mean, look, even I think the guy's hilarious. Was it Bench Warmer? The guy does a bunch of reels and shorts. The guy's been ripping on Russ Wilson for years. Yesterday's short, he did a short on QB Purgatory and he had Russell like trying to figure out his next catchphrase for his team. I think he went Jets Let's Fly or Giants, was his last one. But I mean, there's a reason why he's the butt of so many jokes. There's a reason why people didn't come out to defend him when he left Seattle. There's a reason why teammates aren't jumping up and down and saying, no, you must keep him in Denver. Look, you can say what you want about how good he is, but you can say what you want transitioning to the Bears situation with Caleb and Justin. But at least even like Bears players are coming out and supporting Justin, right? You're not seeing that with Russ Wilson at all. No one in that team is coming up saying, yeah, man, you need to bring Russ back to Denver.
No, you're absolutely right. And like I said, it's not 100% Sean Payton's fault, right? Russ is a weird dude. I said that at the beginning of what I said. Like he's a weirdo, dude. Like, and he's not the kind of teammate that, it seems that you would want. But to leave Sean Payton completely blameless in that situation, I feel is dishonest. It's not fair.
So would
dude.
you
Like,
take
unfortunately,
Russ
Russell Wilson is not the type of weirdo that Aaron Rodgers is either. He's like the bad type of weirdo. Because at
like
least
the bad
Aaron
type of
Rodgers'
weirdo,
teammates
exactly.
like him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like Aaron Rodgers' teammates at least come to his defense and they go, no, I like Aaron Rodgers in the locker room. He's a good dude, all this stuff. He's a super weirdo too. Russell Wilson's the type of weirdo where they're like, please get this guy away from me. Like,
Oh, wait, 1 second. Wait a second. I'm getting something here. I'm having my darkness retreat. Okay, it's over.
So
I mean,
so
he is a weird dude. I grant you, but so here's a question though for Joe. Then, I mean, granted, he's a weird dude. Look, I've been a Raiders guy forever as well. They've always been my AFC team. Is Russ a Raider?
Absolutely not. Like, but the question of, I think that's the wrong question to ask. Like, Russ, no matter what he did, could never be a Raider because Russ, he just doesn't have it in him. Being a Raider, it takes a certain type of mentality, and Russ doesn't have it. But
I don't think Russ could destroy the Raiders locker room. I think the Raiders locker room would destroy Russ.
That's not the question to ask. The question to ask is, could the Raiders see a potential of, having Russ sitting a quarterback behind Russ for a year or two, and could they make it work? Possibly, if Max Crosby doesn't end up kicking Russ's ass in the locker room. Like that's the no. I'm being
what I was about to say.
That's
if
an
we're
actual
looking to get
concern that
Russ
you have to have, is that's Max Crosby's locker room, and if Russ comes in there on some weird shit, he's gonna get slapped. Like, he's gonna get slapped.
So
and
basically, Joe's gonna be like this: "Hi, Russ, Raider Nation, let's."
Oh yeah,
Raider Nation, let's raid. Oh god, that's cringe as fuck.
If we want to get Russell Wilson out of the league, let him go over to the Raiders because he's going to end up saying the wrong thing to somebody or acting all stuck up like he likes to, and he's going to get really put in his place. And it's not going to just be.
I don't think that he could go. I don't think that he could go there and do that though. Like, I think that the locker room that we have, like, if he tried that shit with AP is going to check him, dude, like, hard. And not just AP, but you got Crosby, like, you got Devontae. Like, there's guys that are leaders in that locker room. But I do got to say, just purely from a football standpoint, Russ played 14 games last year. He threw 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions with dog shit at receiver, right? With Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, dude. You put him with Devontae and Jacoby Myers and, Trey Tucker and Josh Jacobs, he has to be good for 30 touchdowns. Like, there's no way that Devontae Adams is only 4 touchdowns or, only 4 touchdowns better than Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So
you said
could they
something
make it
though, real
work?
quick. Not to
Could
cut
they
you
make
off,
it work?
but you
Possibly.
not to cut you off, Joe, but you said something that was very interesting just now. Well, everything you said was interesting, but something that was really caught me. So are you saying the Raiders are re-signing Josh Jacobs?
I would think so, unless he just. So Josh Jacobs wants he wants to be a Raider or he wants to be a Raven. Like last year, when we were having the contract issues with him, there was a point where he almost became a Raven. The Ravens were going to give us a second round pick for him, and we decided not to. But I think that part of that was that Jacobs was so sick of Josh McDaniels that he was, he wanted to go anywhere. But the Ravens would be a good fit for him too. Like, I honestly, I think he would be really great on the Ravens. But I think that with AP, he wants to stay, and AP has already said that Josh Jacobs is like the heart of our team. He's like, so I think that they will get something done, but I don't want to pay him $12 million a year, dude. Like, there's a lot of good running backs in the draft this year. Like, I would go use two of my, one mid-round pick, like a third-round pick, and one fifth-round pick, and go get two running backs, dude, and just start my running back room over with Zeus and two young running backs.
I mean, that's kind of the trend of the NFL. I mean, it's going to be hard for Saquon. That's not going to get the money he wants. I feel for Josh. I feel for Saquon because they're thinking back in the day when Derrick Henry's getting big deals and Pollard and Zeke and all these guys were getting big deals. And then last year, the floor fell out on running backs, right? The floor fell out.
And remember, Josh Jacobs is coming off like a career low year for yards per carry. He was injured for the last 4 or 5 games of the season. He's had injury history. Like, I don't know. I think he's only had one healthy year where he hasn't missed any games. Like, so, I mean, if Josh Jacobs realizes his value and he's like, hey, I don't have any leverage, I'm coming off a career worst year, I was injured, like, I got to build my stock back up, then I'd be willing, give him $6 million. Top I would go is probably $8 million, and that's a lot. Even
who I really feel for is Aaron Jones, man. Talk about the business side of all this, where there is no loyalty, man. Once you're expendable, you're basically gone. They're asking him to take a pay cut, and from what I read, it's $11 million down to $6 million. Now, this might be his last opportunity to make money. It really might be. He's 29 years old. He's stayed loyal to the franchise. He already took a restructure. He's done everything that he needed to do. He played well. And now they're going to ask him to take a pay cut, and it's like, or we'll release you. That's at least what the assumption is. That's insane to me. There is no loyalty in this business. There's none.
And Nick, when I saw that, I was like, what the hell are they thinking? Because week 1, Bears-Packers. Dude, Jordan Love in the first half was getting trashed. I mean, the touchdown was a short yard because we wanted to do something stupid on 4th and 1 on our end of the field, and we failed. Go figure, with Luke Getsy calling plays. But that game, Packers weren't in that game really, in the first half. And the second half, Aaron Jones said, hey, guys, hold my beer, get on my back. And he single-handedly took that game over. And then he made Jordan Love really start to look good, and made Jordan Love get comfortable, and made Jordan Love get into a rhythm, early in the season. And I think really without him, Jordan Love doesn't have the season he has last year. This dude was the heart and soul of your offense. He is a single game wreck. He can game wreck. And you guys are like, when I saw that, what, they want him to take a pay cut again or cut him? How stupid are they? Is Gutekunst right now in Green Bay?
And
this
it's not
guy,
just a pay cut.
You're letting Dylan go. You're already letting Dylan go. Now you're taking your heart and soul, the guy who's responsible for over 50% of your offensive creation, and you might cut him because he doesn't want to take
because of injury, man.
pay cut?
It's just because of injury. He missed 6 to 8 weeks of a game. It was the Bear game that he went lame. He was running in that touchdown in the second half, and he pulled his hammy as he was going into the end zone, and then he was out for they brought him back early, and he played 6 snaps, and then he was out again. I mean, that's the argument of why they can strong arm him, because the last couple seasons he's been injury prone, and honestly, I think it sucks because he's averaging those moments where yards a game.
He also has the argument though, that. I don't think we have a chance in that Niners game without Aaron Jones in that game. He was the reason why we were able to move the ball down the field so often. And he was the first running back all year to break 100 yards on them, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing, though, Nick. I mean, here's the other thing about, and here I'm a Bears fan, freaking telling your team why you should keep the guy that beats me, right? I mean, look at the problem with Aaron Jones and the hammy isn't even necessarily Aaron Jones. I blame more of that on the NFLPA and the way they do preseason now. These guys aren't game ready for week 1. They just aren't. And some of that you can blame your coaching staff for. Some of that you can blame your strength and conditioning people for. Some of that you can blame the NFLPA for because of the restrictions they put on these teams in preseason. Week 1, this is not unique. It's not Aaron Jones' fault. I don't put it on him. We get it every year in week 1 and 2. We get major injuries to star players that are like this, hamstrings, Achilles, and all this kind of stuff. And I don't put that on the players. I put that on the system and doing these guys dirty when it comes to camp and preseason. If you guys cut Aaron Jones, to me, that's a huge step back for the Packers offensively. Like, you can cut Bakhtiari. We already showed. Ken already showed us how you can get rid of Bakhtiari. You got the replacement. You're going to be fine. And then you can just go to the field of linemen you got in the backyard and pluck a few more out. You cut Jones. I think Love regresses this year. I think the Packers regress this year. I think they go from a 10 to 11 win team down to a 6 or 7 win team. Honestly, he brings that much to the table for you guys.
For me, it's
stupidity they're talking about.
Yeah.
The unfortunate side for me is that Aaron Jones has been loyal to the Packers. He's done everything that he was asked to do. Bakhtiari was basically talking shit on us last year before the season started. That did not sit well with anybody, right? And then after the first week, he decides to sit the rest of the season because I think that he thought we just weren't going to be good that year. So I don't know. With the Bakhtiari thing, that's just like, it's really sour. The Aaron Jones thing, it's just like getting rid of Jordy Nelson again. It's like, dude, what are we doing? Why do we treat our players like this? Green Bay has a tendency to do this. And it's unfortunate. I hate watching us do this, but for whatever reason, management doesn't give a shit. They just are like, dude, we're getting rid of you. I don't care who you are. Bye.
I mean, Ken, why not just cut Bakhtiari, save the $20 million for cutting Bakhtiari, and then just keep Aaron Jones and let him get the $11 million he's supposed to get? Why can't they seem to do that?
Well, part of it is it's not just that he's getting $11 million. His cap hit is $17 million. Well, 17 point something, but for all intents and purposes, 17. And I really want us to keep Aaron Jones. I can agree with doing something that's going to lower his cap hit. I have no problem giving him the $11 million. It's just that cap hit I want to see drop down. And I don't think we should play too much hardball with Aaron Jones because before he came to Green Bay, we did not have great luck with running backs. We'd get a season or two that looks awesome out of a guy, and then he'd fall off the cliff. So I don't want to go back to that shit.
If you're Green Bay, and this goes to Nick's point, and I think even Rob, you'll agree with me. I think all the Packer fans will agree with me on this. Your track record right now with some of your players, with the way Aaron Rodgers felt disrespected by the Packers, blah, 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 and all the drama that ends up with him going to the Jets. And now the very next a season later, your guy, who basically was a heart and soul of this team as far as making it you guys what you were, now you're treating your star running back like crap. Now, if you're a free agent and I have a choice between Minneapolis or Green Bay, well, at least Kwesi, he may be crazy, but he's going to treat me right. Right? I mean, I think that's going to hurt your guys' ability to sign free agents. When guys are looking at what Goody's doing up there, I don't get why they think this is good for business. And Nick hits it on the head. And, I mean, I just don't know what he's thinking. I mean, like, why?
Also,
you could probably get rid of almost any other player on that team right now besides him. Or at least in this manner. I mean,
also, I kind of hate the hypocrisy of, like, Aaron Jones signed a deal with the Packers, right? They agreed to this contract, and now, like, Aaron Jones is like, fulfill your contract, right? We shit all over players when they sit out because they want a new contract, but yet Green Bay can go and say, hey, I know we signed this deal with you, but we're going to go ahead and void this deal because we're just paying you too much money. It's like, but you agreed to that deal. and there's no kind of pushback on organizations for the shady business that they conduct. Like,
How many
let's be
Packers
honest.
fans I seen telling saying Aaron Jones needs to be a team player and just take the pay cut? Well, we don't ever say that about the management or the organization when they're trying to make a move. You know what I mean? It's never like, you know what, the Green Bay Packers, they need to honor their contract. They need to just suck it up. That conversation never comes out.
Never happens.
Well,
And
bro,
let's be
what
honest,
gets me
all
is
of these fans that are saying like,
Oh,
Aaron Jones needs to suck it up.
Well,
If
hold on.
Aaron
Yeah, go
Jones,
ahead, Ken.
if you were Aaron Jones, would you take a $5 million pay cut?
No, $5 million is a lot of
Well,
money.
let's
$5 million
let's
is a
let
lot
Rob,
of money, dude.
Well, hold on, guys. Let's let Rob get on this because he's been trying to get in on this. Go ahead, Rob.
that's half his money, man. I mean, that is a
Mm-hmm.
lot to ask of a pay cut for somebody to take.
Mhm.
Man. I mean, to me, it's not fair, and none of that's fair. And honestly, he's already, as the current cap rate sits, he's already worked into this year is worked into the cap that we're all sitting here talking about. He's already in there. He's under contract for this year. That's already in the cap, is it not? I don't
Rob, let me
understand
ask
why.
you.
I don't understand why they have to make a decision on it now and come out and publicly say this to try to put the screws to him. That
Rob,
to me is the shady part.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. All these fans that are telling Aaron Jones he should just take the pay cut, do you think any of these fans sitting back, not knowing what $5 million even looks like, do you think that they would look at $5 million and go, "Oh yeah, I'll easily just let that go"?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like, all right, he's supposed. It looks like 11, and he's supposed to get 11, and they're asking for 6. To me, that's half your pay. So I ask anybody who's here, if you lost half of your salary, how the hell would you feel about that? I'm
Especially
sorry.
at 29 years old, turning 30, this might be your last chance to make $11 million.
Everybody says it's millions of dollars, but in their market, that's half their salary. I mean, you're only worth. I'm sorry, that's too much.
Let's be honest. He earned that contract. Like
Yep.
they stalled him out. They stalled him out, and then they finally gave him the contract that he deserved. And now they're like a couple years into that contract, they're like, "Hey, we don't want to pay you this anymore." Like, you know.
But the worst part is when he took that deal and he made that pay cut, they went out on a limb and said, "Look at this guy. He's a team player. He made a play cut. He took a cut for the team." Okay, so now here it is. You're supposed to keep up your end of that same deal, and you're giving them shit about it, and you're going to threaten.
That's why I say, why not just cut Bakhtiari? He's been not a team player in terms of that.
Well,
he's sucking down $40 million. Well, I mean, look, let's be honest, though. If I were to compare the two, Bakhtiari's trash talked the Packers in the past, right?
Oh,
he's
yeah.
making $40 million. If you cut him post June 1st, you save $20 for a guy who played one game last year and his replacement did a good job. You don't need to pay Bakhtiari $40 million. Take the $20 million in dead cap. Be done with him, and stop messing with Jones.
Or instead of cutting him, Ken, why not trade him and ask the Jets to take a substantial amount of that money from him?
Well, I mean, yes, you could do that, but I think the problem is this: the Jets might not have the money.
The problem is Bakhtiari's not set to be cleared for health until the start of training camp. That is the problem. He's not fully healthy right now. You can't trade somebody who's not fully healthy.
Yeah.
No one's going to take him.
And the thing is the Jets aren't going to want to give up trade capital, and they're not going to eat more. Look, I think you're saving more money to cut him than you are to trade him. Because I think if I'm the Jets, I'm like, fine, you're going to need 30 million of that contract, right? So now you're saving 10 million less. I think the Packers, honestly, your best bet's to cut him. And if he wants to go to arbitration based on injury, go for it, dude. You're still getting 20 mil, right? So
the only thing about that is if he does get an injury settlement, is it explodes his cap number all into this year.
Yeah.
Everything gets pushed way up, and
but how much? But how much? That's the problem. Like, are they gonna be able to say that arbitration? Are they gonna give him more than the 20 mil he's already getting? And if you're the Packers, if you're Gutekunst, and you're like, look, the dude's pretty healthy. He's saying he's fixed, so he's gonna be able to go get another job easy. He's just it's not an injury issue while we're cutting him. That goes into the argument. He's a straight salary casualty.
But
I don't think you have to.
But technically,
yeah,
he's still injured till training camp. That's just what they're saying, man. He's not even
I get
projected
that,
to be
but I
healthy
mean,
till then.
when he files that claim, though, the Packers, though, in their defense, say, look, this is not a injury. We're not cutting him because he's injured. We're cutting him because we $40 million. He's a cap casualty, is what he is, and I don't think you're going to get $40 million against your cap on him in a settlement. I think you're going to get stuck with about the $20 million, which you already projected to get. I mean, especially.
Go ahead, finish your take. Sorry.
I want to say, especially if the Jets then swoop in and sign him, then he has no argument.
Call me cynical, but this is what I would love to add insult to his injury and trade him for a 4th-round pick. Green Bay is really good at getting linemen in the 4th round for some reason. Draft a guy with that pick and make him the new starting left tackle. I'm sorry. I would love every bit of that if that's what we did.
I mean, I guess if they could tell the Jets, hey, give us your 4th-round pick and we'll pay 30 of the $40 million this year, they might make the trade and say, well, we're only on the hook for $10 million. Okay, that's not bad. And maybe you could swing that. But still, I'd rather do that than mess with Aaron Jones. Like, why are you messing with Aaron Jones? Leave that dude alone. He is a game wrecker. He is the heart and soul of your team. It makes no sense why you're messing with that dude.
Aaron Jones is clearly our veteran locker room presence. Like, it's clear as day. He's the one going up to the young guys during the season being like, hey, man, I know you fumbled, but shake it off, bro. We got this. Like, we can't lose Aaron Jones, in my opinion. I will be crushed.
I don't think the Packers are going to lose. I didn't hear Goody say they're going to fuck this. This is just a report. I didn't hear Goody say this. I don't, I think Goody knows better. I think he knows what he's got in Aaron Jones. I mean, he averaged 125 yards a game the last 5 games of the season through the playoffs, man. I mean, he was a game wrecker. Nobody could stop him, and there's no way we get rid of him. No way.
Rob, let me ask you this, though. So, like, I read that part of the Packers' plan was if he's not going to take the pay cut, they're going to cut him with the hopes of re-signing him to a smaller contract, right?
When does that ever work?
But if you're Aaron Jones,
you're right. When does it ever work?
Jones, and they cut you, and because you wouldn't take a 50% pay cut, like now you're a free agent. Are you going to go back to the Packers for that $6 million, would you take $6 million from somebody else and say? Fuck
I don't blame him if he doesn't. I'm going to say that. I'm not going to blame
Joe,
him.
I can answer your question. You ready?
Bears.
That's where he ends up. Just to stick at Green Bay at that moment.
Oh my God!
Tell me that wouldn't happen. He just goes.
Bro,
hey, Chicago,
that's why they won't do that. That's exactly why they won't freaking do that. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's not. It's never. Look, Goody
has 90
go
million
down as the dumbest GM in Packer
imagine
history.
Chicago throws him that 11 million just to go smoke you guys.
I think that's
they
what
got
Ken's
the money.
point
They
is.
got it. They got
the Bears
it.
would be like, you know what? I'll give you your 11 million. Come on over. And he's like, all right, done deal. Like, oh, that would kill me as a fan. That would kill me.
I just see it happening. But hey, guys, we're down to the last minute. So let me do some housekeeping. Hey, everyone here on Roku, if you're liking what you're seeing, get us on Facebook, get us on YouTube. Monday through Friday, Ken and Ken in the morning on Facebook and YouTube at Hallis Hall Report, Chicago Bears News, Frozen Tundra, Packer News. We're on YouTube at Hallis Hall Report. Also, Mike the Bear Fan, of course, on Facebook, on YouTube at Frozen Tundra and Hallis Hall. We're doing this every Monday through Friday. Today's just happens to be our one Roku day. Don't forget also Frozen Tundra and Hallis Hall on Roku on Saturday. Frozen Tundra at 5, Hallis at 7. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on the show today. We are about out of time, guys. A lot of stuff happening. Great show today. Thank you for everyone for being here. We will be here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Until then, everyone.
He has time. He's got the left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Thanks for joining.